Good evening. Welcome to Star Talk. I'm Ken Eccles. Got my shirt, and we're on the air. I'd love to hear from you during this next hour. The phone number is up there on your screen somewhere. So over there. Is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. Also, the email address, which is keneckleslive@gmail.com. You can give us a call or send us an email, whichever works best for you. I think that maybe the pollen has thinned out a little bit. That's our nightly pollen report. I think maybe the pollen has thinned out a little bit because it's a little easier for me to speak tonight than it was last night. At least it is right now. Who knows how it'll be before the hour is over? But my notion is there's just a little bit less pollen floating around than there was yesterday. And it's right on cue. There I go. There I go getting hoarse again. But, there it is. I went to the dermatologist today. How many of you have ever had them freeze burn a little thing off of your skin? It was right here. And she picked up this spray can and she said, I'm going to freeze it. So, so she begins to spray. And it felt very cold until it felt very hot. Have you had that done? That is a weird, weird sensation. Um, it's just hard to describe. Well, the only way I can describe it is it's really cold and then it's really hot. And it's sort of really cold and really hot all at the same time. It's interesting, to say the least. We have, if I can get the right phone, I think this is it. Have a couple of emails that have arrived already um, that we will take a look at. And one of them, well, that's actually that's not the right place. Oh, here it is. One of them is Ken, I've heard several people call up on the program to talk about seeing UFOs and to discuss whether or not there is alien intelligence out there in the universe. So it kind of got me wondering. We'll get back to this one in a second. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Well, good evening, Ken.
Good evening. How are you?
Well, I'm still disappointed in Charles.
Are we not on?
No, not in Danville. I'm going to have to fire. I'm just going to have to fire him.
Well, you keep saying that. I mean, I'm sorry. Pardon me for saying this, but I think somebody needs to say it. You keep telling us you're going to deal with Charles, but it seems to me that you never do. What is the problem?
Well, he said he wasn't in town. He texted me back, said he wasn't in town yesterday.
And you, with all your resources, you can't get to him wherever he is?
I texted him. I sent a text to him, a nice one.
All right. Maybe the nice texts aren't working.
Well, I ought to just send a text say you're fired.
Well, I'm not.
Maybe
I'm not
we'll have
suggesting.
to.
I'm not suggesting you go all the way to that. But maybe you need to ramp up the pressure a little bit in some way.
Well, I could get a few people to go bully him.
Okay. Well, now see, now I think maybe we're on to something there.
Probably we could go to his house and hang him up on the wall by a nail and let him hang there for a couple of hours till we
Okay.
get the message.
All right. I'm not going to endorse that publicly. But I will
Yeah.
say that clearly what you've been doing so far has not worked.
Nope, being Mr. Nice Guy is not working for him. So just gonna have to call him tomorrow, and I'm just gonna have to lay down the law.
Now, are you watching on YouTube?
No, I'm watching on channel 17. I'm watching this guy. This guy. No, I'm watching 17. I'm watching this guy here. He's
This
preaching.
guy. All right.
What's really in the Bible?
Oh, okay. So you're not seeing us at all. Not seeing me at
Uh,
all.
not you.
All right. Well,
So
you're
someone.
probably better off watching him than watching me anyway.
No, I really don't want to watch him. He's annoying.
Okay.
He's annoying.
Well, as long as he's on, why don't you listen to him? You listen to what he says. You might hear something that does you some good.
Well, I'll probably go up to another channel and find something else to watch.
Well, there's
Because
always Ken Eccles Live on YouTube.
I'm going to have to talk to my secretary to fix that for me.
You don't know how to access YouTube?
Well, not really. This is why I got people who do things for me, and that's why I pay people to do things.
That's why you have
So
why you have hirelings, so you don't have to do. I understand that. I understand.
I have underlings under me.
Underlings, good. Well, that's fine. Then put one underling to work on the YouTube thing, and they can find me on YouTube.
Yeah, but I'm definitely going to have a word with Charles tomorrow. I really didn't want to have to do it.
All right. Well, next week we will expect a report on how that goes.
Oh, it'll go good. I'll make him I'll just say you're going to be fired. You're supposed to be the head. Well, he's supposed to be the head guy there doing everything. His the guy who's supposed to be his technician ain't doing his job. Well,
All right.
Mr. Ken, we'll talk to you next week. Hope to see you next week, sir. And to everybody out there, y'all have a good weekend, folks.
Well, thanks for calling. Good night. Ladies and gentlemen, Charles from Danville, who is working tirelessly, he says, to resolve the issue that we have getting on the air in Danville. There's still some sort of technical imperfection in the system somewhere. I don't know where it is, don't know what it is. I probably wouldn't be able to fix it if I did know. I just know it's out there somewhere, and it is keeping us off the air in certain areas. But we're working on it. We're working on it, and we'll figure it out. This email over here that I was reading, I should have read this one. I should have read this one beforehand. I didn't realize it was going to get weird, but it does, and we'll get back to it in just a minute. Hello, caller.
Hello?
You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
How you doing tonight, Ken?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good, man. Did you get your Eden's Own Journal today?
Oh, Eden's Own Journal. Yeah, I have. Hang on. I have Eden's Own Journal, and it says Mr. Pelham on there. Did you bring that?
Yeah, I was in Eden messing around today, and I come by and I saw a nice guy's paper on the steps. So I said, shoot, I just throw it up there on the porch and knocked on the door. Nobody came, so I just got on out of Dodge.
I was probably I had to go to the doctor today. That's probably where I was.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
This.
Thank you. I
You're very
appreciate it.
You're very welcome. You talking about that skin cancer kind of thing, man? I never had any frozen off, but when I go in, he just sticks that little scalpel thing to me and slices it off, and I'm good to go after that. But,
okay, so you have something different than what I have. I've got what did she call it? She called it an SK keratin something. Anyway, she said this is the kind that you can freeze off. You don't have to scalpel these off. But I'm sorry you have to have that done.
Yeah. So far it's taking care of everything, but you're talking about that freeze thing. It gets real hot and then it gets real cold.
Yeah. Well, it gets cold first, and then it gets hot.
Yeah, I was married to a woman like that for about 26 years, Ken, but I think she's a little on the cold side than the hot side. So
yeah, aren't we? Aren't we all? They told me, as they explained it to me, I perceive it as getting hot, but they said it actually doesn't get hot. It's just how you perceive it. After you perceive that much cold over that period of time, then you perceive it as hot. It's all about human perception.
Oh, okay. One of them mind over matter things, right?
Yeah, or matter over mind. So sometimes matter wins.
So true. Well, I see President Trump saved the country today. I'm so proud of that man, Ken. I just don't know what to say about it. I mean, even a broken clock right twice a day, you know?
Well, now I guess you're talking about the 90-day delay on the tariffs.
Yeah, he put a freeze on them, I think. But, you know, as far as I see it, Ken, and I know people probably disagree with me, but I never saw the purpose of it. You know, they said they're going to bring jobs back and this and that and the other. Nobody's going to come over here and spend billions of dollars to build a factory so they can make a product they can make for a third of the price in China or Vietnam or wherever. Nobody's going to spend that kind of money to bring jobs back. And besides, we don't have, you know, near enough materials in this country to make anything anymore. And even if we did, who would the employees be? You can't get nobody to work anywhere anymore in this country.
Well, you covered a lot of ground there. To begin with, you're kind of talking like the tariffs are not going to happen now. This is just a 90-day delay, and we don't really know that they're going to be delayed for 90 days because sometimes the president will say something and then he'll change his mind. I think the tariffs probably are still coming.
Well, when you got a 125% tariff on China, and look at the stuff that I bet you 85-90% of everything in Walmart and Target comes from China, and who knows much beef and whatever, you know. But we don't know what we're eating anymore. But with a 125% tariff on that, that's pretty ragged itself, don't you think?
Well, that's significant to say the least. And now China has answered, I think, with an 84% tariff on what they import from us, because China, of course, was not subject to the 90-day delay. There's a 90-day delay for everybody except China. So that one is still in place. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Obviously, there's going to be more exchange. We're going to do more tariffing, and then China's going to do more tariffing back at us. I really don't know how that one ends. I don't think as far as I know, I don't think we've been in this situation with this level of tariffs with China before. We've had some tiffs with China, but we haven't had anyone to this degree. So there's not a whole lot of historical precedent to fall back on.
Not at all, Ken. I mean, and you know, when it comes to a tariff war, we'll never beat China in that anyway. The reason being is, you know, last day or two, these billionaires, Trump's buddies, got up there and started saying, you know, this is kind of hit me, so we're going to do something about this. And that's what changed his mind for whatever reason. But,
well,
you know, you re-elect your politicians. Well,
there's a report today, and I can't vouch for any of this, of course. There's a report today that what happened was that Japan has about $1.25 trillion worth of U.S. Treasury bonds, $1.26 trillion worth, I believe it is. And there is a report that Japan told the president that if he went through with tariffs against them, that they would think about dumping all those U.S. Treasury bonds onto the market, which would greatly reduce the market value of U.S. Treasury bonds and cause us a very serious problem. So according to this report, that's what the Japanese told the president they were going to do. And at that point, he said, well, maybe I should delay the tariffs for 90 days. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what was said. The other thing that I do know that Elon Musk over the weekend said that we need to cut back on tariffs. In fact, Elon Musk went on TV and he called Peter Navarro is President Trump's big advisor on tariffs. He's kind of the architect of the tariff plan. And Elon Musk went on TV and said Peter Navarro is a moron, and we need to get rid of him. So obviously, Mr. Musk is campaigning against tariffs, and I don't know how much effect that has either.
Well, Ken, that's the Republican Party as a whole's go-to thing for money, campaigns and whatever. I mean, Musk spent $200 million trying to get Trump elected this time, and I'm sure it was a big help, trying to buy a Supreme Court justice in Wisconsin, whatever. But I heard he spent $200 million trying to get him elected, but turned around and lost $100 billion in the last 3 months.
Yeah, the tariffs are not good for Elon Musk, and I guess that's why he thinks we should cut back.
Yeah. Well, one more thing, Ken. Thing about it is, the politicians in this country, they have to worry about re-elections, midterms, and all that. President Xi, he don't have to worry about that. He can be president to whatever he wants to, give it up. But,
well, yeah, it's different in China.
Whole different world when it comes to a tariff war. Thank you so much for taking my call, Ken. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for calling. Phone line is open up there. There's the number. You can also email us at kennickleslive@gmail.com. And there's still this email here, which I might save this one. I'm going to save this one for later, because here's a different one that I can read. In fact, I'll just answer the phone. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please. I think the caller hung up. The caller did hang up. So now we'll try this one. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Hey, kid. How you doing?
Hey, early bird. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I sat down at the railroad this morning and looked at a piece of paper about that speedway down there in Draper. Mr. Nice Guy sat down there and brought it in and let me look at it before he took it view. I guess you got it, didn't you?
You mean this one right here?
Yeah.
It's a program from the Draper Speedway in I think this is from 1952.
52.
Yep. Oh, this is really interesting. I really appreciate this.
Yeah. Look, I've been looking for some black walnuts. I can't find none nowhere. I like to put them in some brownie mix.
Man, I have not seen any this year. Does anybody? Somebody must have some somewhere. If anybody's got black walnuts, let us know, because they ought to be all over the ground somewhere this time of year.
Yeah. Let me know. If anybody knows, call in. Let me know where they're at so I can go get some. I like to have some brownies and some walnuts in them.
Man, I love those walnuts.
Yeah, I do too. I like them in brownies. I bought me a box of that Betty Crocker milk chocolate brownie mix.
Oh, that sounds good.
I just had a taste of some, and I like to find me some black walnuts, but I can't find them Walmart, Food Line, nowhere.
Well, I'll bet somebody's got a tree somewhere. Folks, let us know if you have any black walnuts.
Yeah, I want them already picked. I don't want to pick do it myself. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. That's hard work.
Yeah. Okay, kid. I'll let you go. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks for calling. Okay, early bird in need of some black walnuts. Who's got some? Somebody out there must have black walnuts. I'll bet somebody out there has got a big box full of black walnuts that you can spare for early bird. So let us know if you do. And yeah, I did get the Draper Speedway program from 1952. It cost somebody 25 cents in 1952, but this is really, really interesting. I appreciate this. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Ken, it's Mark from Medan.
Hey, Mark. How you doing?
Okay, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Uh, I was gonna remind you and Charles and Danville about the Masked Singer tonight, but Charles he's not watching tonight.
Well, no, he's not, but you can remind me.
Oh, okay, yeah, the Masked Singer comes on at 8 o'clock on the Fox Station channel.
8 o'clock. Thank you for the reminder. And even though Charles cannot watch the show directly tonight, he'll probably find out about the reminder anyway. He finds out about stuff.
Yeah, and I was gonna tell you, if he don't go to YouTube and find your shows, he can Google it on the phone. Go to Google and put in a search box Ken Echols Live, and it'll come up.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. Just put it in Google, and Google will find it.
Yeah, and have you been getting phone calls from Medicare or whatever?
Oh gosh, have I been getting? I get two phone calls. I get two phone calls from Medicare about almost every day with some scam or another. They are all over the place right now.
Yeah, I know somebody called my mom today, and they said hello. Their mom said hello, and they said something, we want you to sign up for Medicare, and the phone started beeping. You know, had a beep on the phone. And mom matched with another beep, and then when she matched the beep, is another Medicare woman wanting her to sign up for Medicare.
Yeah, well, I only got one today. I know I got two yesterday, but it's a daily thing right now, and me and I'm sure your mother too. I'm a little bit tired of it.
Oh yeah, and she said especially when you have one on the phone, you beep to the other phone. When it starts beeping, there's another one on there. That's a problem.
Well, one day, well, let me tell you this. There was one day that I was outside. What was I outside for? I don't know. Maybe I was feeding the dog. I was outside, and I had my mobile phone, and I got one on my cell phone outside. I came back in. My wife told me she had just gotten one on the house phone at the same time. So we had one. We had two at the same time, one on each phone.
Dag. Yeah, that's getting bad too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again.
Well, thank you, Mark. Good to hear from you. Phone lines open at that number. You can email us also at Ken Echols Live, excuse me, Pollen, at KenEcholsLive.com. This emailer says, wait a minute, get my stuff in order here. This emailer says, "Hello, Ken. I have hesitated to send you this email because it's sort of embarrassing." Um, let me read ahead and see what this is. Sort of embarrassing. Oh, that's all right. We can read that. We can read that. And we will. But here's an emergency email. We'll go to this emergency email really quick. This says, I got several black walnut trees, but they don't fall till the fall. Early Bird, if you're listening, this is from a guy that you can easily get to if you want to. This is from Mr. Draper, who says he's got black walnut trees, but he says they don't come down until the fall. Now, I've never had a black walnut tree. I don't know for sure exactly what they do. But they don't fall down until the fall, according to Mr. Draper. Um, so I don't know. I don't know about that. Uh, you might want to get in touch with Mr. Draper, and the two of you can maybe figure out when would be a good time to get. Apparently, you can't get them from Mr. Draper right now because he says they don't fall down yet. But you two can discuss that amongst yourselves. Meanwhile, if there's somebody else who actually does have black walnuts that are off the tree, please, we would very much like to hear about that, so that Early Bird can make his walnut brownies. because that's important.
Moving markets right now is
what? Hang on.
Social out from President Trump.
Alert.
Now is surging.
Alert. I'm not supposed to be broadcasting that. It's illegal for me to put that audio on the air. But it is a note of what happened today. Big day on the stock market. Okay, folks. Be
based on the lack of respect that
Hang
China
on
has
a
shown to the
second. Hang on a second. Make this lady be quiet. The stock market had a big day today when it was announced that the tariffs would be delayed 90 days. All the folks who ran out and sold stocks the last couple of days ran out and bought stocks again. You know, we talked about this kind of the other night. The most important thing in the economy is what's in people's minds. So it's been in people's minds for several days now that the tariffs were going to cause economic disruption, and they've been selling their stocks. So what do they do when they hear that most of the tariffs have been delayed for 90 days? Their mind switches, and then they run back and buy their stocks back again, which they pretty much did. The gain on the stock market today was more or less equal to, I don't know what the exact number is, but it was very close to the amount that had been lost in the last few sessions. And that's how we behave as human beings. Now, in a day or two, something will spook folks again, and they'll go running out selling their stocks one more time. Which is why, when you evaluate the stock market, you cannot draw any conclusions based on what the stock market does in a day, or 2 days, or 3 days. You have to evaluate the stock market in terms of years and not in terms of days. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good evening to you, Ken.
Good evening.
Point of correction.
Okay.
The recovery in the stock market today was about 50% of what had been lost.
All right. At one time, it was approaching what had been lost, but obviously that didn't hold.
Right. It closed at about 50% of what had been lost.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
For what it's worth, the first time the current president took office, the value of my holdings fell by well into 6 figures. And it took 3 years plus for that to recover.
Okay.
I know this, in the stocks you play the long game. Otherwise you don't, you do what people did in panic, and that's not the way you do it with stocks.
Sure.
Now, I haven't gotten a recent, in other words, this month, assessment on how much I've lost this month. But I can tell you, since January, the value of my investments has fallen again by well into 6 figures.
Well, I guess it would have since January, yeah.
Now, the fact remains, the common denominator is the current chief executive. And what happens when he takes office is what's influencing the stock market. Now, I know full well that if I continue to just be patient, I will eventually recover. It may take me a period of years, but I'll eventually recover to where I was at this point of departure.
Sure.
Unfortunately, that's not what I should have gained. It's just recovering what I've lost.
Right.
Here's what's fascinating about that. At the end of the day, when I submit all my paperwork to my accountant, guess what? Most of that I get to write off on my taxes.
Right. Sure.
So as a capital gains loss.
Right.
Now, the one thing that's important for the viewers to understand is this. The stock market and the discussion you guys have been having is about what's affecting, people are misunderstanding that what happens in the stock market is not what's affecting the price of gas, bread, milk, whatever else you're wanting to buy. That's something different.
Yeah, of course.
And what people need to understand is if you're worried about what you're paying for eggs or gas or your toaster or your new car, the stock market isn't your dictator, is not your identifier there.
No. I mean,
And in
if
fact-
anything, the stock market is a result and not a cause.
Correct. At the end of the day, the people, the companies involved that we're talking about here, they're going to make their money. At the end of the day, the long story short for everybody to understand is this is all kind of interesting, but none of it has to do with what you're paying at the grocery store. Those prices will continue to go up. They're not going to go down, at least not for a long time.
Well,
and what happened?
The stock market, and this is an oversimplification, but in essence, when you look at the Dow Industrial Average, you say, well, today it's 38,000, today it's 37,000. That's not even real. That's simply that's simply a reflection of what people think. What people think is what drives them to buy or sell stocks today. It's not a result of anything that is a real economic issue.
I always chuckle and I go, folks, why don't you try this on for size? Go buy a share of Dow Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they get the same response that you just gave. You can't go buy a share of Dow Jones.
Well, no, you can't. It's not. Of course not.
It does not exist. That's not what you're talking about, folks. And it's interesting. If you're looking at investment portfolios, when I look at mine, 40% of my investments are offshore investments.
Right.
They're not in the United States. So the people playing the stock market, their money's hedged in ways that what President Trump does or doesn't do or shoots his mouth off about tonight or tomorrow isn't going to make a difference in the long run.
Well,
the only difference is when you go to pay for something at the grocery store. That's when it's going to make a difference to you.
Well, that's the only thing that if you don't own stocks, the only thing that matters to you is what can I afford? How much is it going to cost me? Can I get it? Now, if you own stocks, then obviously the stock market does matter to you. But what happens is a lot of people who own stocks don't understand stocks. And
right.
Again, we're covering ground again here, but we'll do it. They look at it in terms of, well, what happened last week and what's going to happen next week. But you don't do it that way. You got to look what's going to happen next year and the year after. But we talk way too much about the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We inflate it far beyond its importance.
Correct. It's simply a barometer is all it is.
Of course.
It's simply a barometer. The only way that any of that would make any difference to anybody in the near term is if they suddenly had to cash in their 401 or whatever it was to pay their bills.
Well, yeah, and in that case, you shouldn't have had it in volatile stocks anyway.
Right, but at the end of the day, what that means is those are the folks that are going to take a hit.
Right.
If all of a sudden, and of course, then I sit here and go, all right, well, about 50% of the folks that have recently lost their jobs probably voted for the president, but I bet they didn't figure that they were going to wind up losing their job because of their vote. And gee, all of a sudden, I can't pay for that new truck and I can't pay my mortgage. I'm going to have to cash in my 401k to cover my butt this month. Now they're taking a bigger hit than they ever expected.
Well, those folks are being hurt, no doubt.
And unfortunately, that's probably the majority of the people that are around us, Ken.
It's a lot. I mean, I can't name a percentage, but it's a lot of people.
I would suggest to you that it's a very slim minority of folks that have their bills paid. They owe nobody a nickel, and they still got a nickel in their pocket.
Oh, well, if you're talking about debt-free people, yeah, there are very few people who are debt-free.
Right. So at the end of the day, all of this, people need to take a look at this and go, wait a minute, it's not the stock market that's making a difference. It's other things that are impacting what it's actually costing me to live. And I need to take a look at those. And the problem with that is, at this stage of the game, so things are so unsettled in the world because of what's going on here, all of that does make a difference to your dollar, because to your grocery bill, because people don't want to invest in a new greenhouse to grow more vegetables.
Well, yeah, I mean, the economy is a very complex thing, extremely complex. In fact, it's really too complex for us to control. We don't control the economy. The economy controls us. I wish we could control it, but it's too complicated and too big.
Correct. Anyway, I'm sure I've taken far more than my 3 minutes again, so thank you for your time.
Thanks for calling. Phone line is open at that number up there. You can email us at kenickleslive@gmail.com. This emailer says, this is a night for strange emails. Real strange. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air.
You could go.
Okay. Did I say it's a night for strange emails? Well, maybe. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Ken. How are you?
Good. How are you?
All right. There's one thing I agree with the last caller, except for one thing there. Most companies now, they pay, they have removed pensions, and most workers now depend on 401k, which the company will match a little bit. Mm-hmm. But most employees now will depend on the 401k for their retirement.
Right.
And when people are forced to dip into that, or either when you have an incident like we experienced where you lose 75% of it back and you only gain 25% of that, and you are 4 or 5 years out from your retirement, then it affects a great deal.
Well, it does.
You know?
I hope that nobody has lost 75% of their 401k.
Yeah.
And I tend to doubt that anybody has lost 75% of it. People don't want to lose any. If you lose 1%, you don't feel good about it. And a lot of people have lost more than 1%. I doubt that many have lost 75. But you're right. More and more people have 401ks instead of pensions now, and it's riskier than a pension.
It is, and so that's why 401ks, you hear so much about it now, because these companies have just about resorted in cutting out pensions now. People that retired a few years ago and all like that, they were really beneficial than the people that's coming along this age and time.
Well, it's true. Pensions are going out of style. As far as 401ks go, and there are different kinds of 401ks. In some cases, you can control your 401k. You can put it into stocks, you can take it out, and then you can put it somewhere else. There are people who have no control over their 401k. They can't do anything about it except sit and watch what happens.
That's exactly correct. And look, Ian, what do you think it does to the relationships of our allies and people when you tell worldwide that people are crawling to you, they coming to you and kissing I used alphabet A,
Yeah,
kissing
don't
your
say
A.
that. Don't say what he
Yeah,
said.
yeah, no, 'cause I respect your restrictions 'cause your integrity is higher than the president's right now. But when you get on that word talking about people coming from all countries and they kissing your A and saying I will do anything and all like that. I mean, what does that do to other countries when you show disrespect like that?
Well, nobody likes to be disrespected, obviously, but I think that the main concern for other countries now is what's going to happen with the tariffs, and how it's all going to work out. I'm sure they don't like to hear that kind of language, but
Right,
I think
right.
they get over that.
Yeah, from head of a country. You wouldn't want a school principal or a teacher to act in that matter. You know what I mean? So that's one thing. And one thing that I like to say, I was at a restaurant today, and they had immigrants there. Where K&W in
Hmm.
Greensboro, they had immigrants working there and all. And well, to find out uh, that those people make $2 an hour, Ken. That's a shame because as I sat there, I saw several people that got up from the table and left no tip at all. That's why I try to, you know, tip those people, no matter who, whether immigrants, Americans, or who. But these waiters and people that's serving us, some of us would be surprised if we knew actually what they take, what their uh, pay is, and if they don't get tips, they go home empty-handed.
Well, I
Ooh,
always tip. I mean, I always, even if I get bad service, which I
me
don't
too.
get bad service very often, but
Yeah,
even if I don't get the best service, I still tip because those people work hard and they don't get
right,
much in the way of a salary.
right. And I feel those corporations at that size, they at least could pay $7, $8, an hour, and people not have to depend on tips because, times changes. Some people cut back on tips.
Yeah, that is true. If people perceive that their wealth has dropped, then they don't tip as much. We do know that.
Yeah. All right, Ken. Enjoy your show.
Well, thanks for calling. Phone line
Uh,
is open. Up there is the number. And you can call us at that number or you can email us at kennickleslive@gmail.com. This emailer says, well, Ken, what about your vast stock holdings? How much have you gotten hurt? Not much. I, I don't agree with describing my stock holdings as vast, but no, I've not gotten hurt very much at all, thank the Lord. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, you can go to the marketplace and type in black woman, and it'll come up that they got them in Ridgeway, Virginia, already share.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Early Bird, I hope you heard that. Now, Early Bird does not have a computer, so he cannot type into a search engine. But Early Bird, what the lady said was there are black walnuts available in Ridgeway, already shelled, and I know that's important. And even though you can't do an online search, if I can remember it, I'm feeble-minded. Sometimes I forget stuff. If I can remember it when I get off the air, I will do an online search. And I've got your phone number here. If I can find something online that looks like it would be useful to you, then I'll call you on the phone. If you don't mind getting a call from a disreputable person, if I can find something that looks worthwhile, I'll call you and tell you what I have found. But according to the lady, black walnuts already shelled are available in Ridgeway, Virginia. So that sounds kind of promising. This emailer, excuse me. This emailer says, Ken, do we know yet? So here's our ongoing, our never-ending story. Do we know yet what's going to happen with the North Carolina Supreme Court race? It just goes on and on and on and on and on. And the email has got more and ons on here than I'm going to read because that goes a long, long way. You're right, emailer. It does go on and on and on, and we don't know yet. Where it stands right now, the appeals court has ruled that the votes will not be counted as they are, but that people will have 15 days to contact their local board of elections and correct whatever might be wrong with a registration application, which they might have filled in 20 years ago, and they can fix it, and then their vote will be counted. And then the state Supreme Court came along and said, well, no, we're not going to let that happen, at least not yet. We're going to delay the start of the 15-day period when you have a chance to make a correction and have your vote count. And as far as I know, nothing has happened since then. So I guess what we're waiting for now is for the state Supreme Court to decide a couple of things. First, the state Supreme Court has to decide whether or not they will even hear the case. If they don't hear it, that will let the appeals court ruling stand, unless the state Supreme Court says, well, we're not going to hear the case. We're going to let the ruling stand, but we're going to change the 15-day curing period for the votes. We might eliminate it or change it in some way. So this obviously is a case that takes a long time to finish, because it's not finished yet. But that's where it is right now. We're waiting for the state Supreme Court to decide what it wants to do or not do about this. And they will, the state Supreme Court will act in its own good time. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
I know, I'm sorry. I apologize, but I have to ask, how do we know whether or not our votes are on that list? Thank you, Ken.
Well, thanks for calling. That's certainly a good and pertinent question. Call the Board of Elections. Tell them who you are, and tell them you need to know. Hang on. Just a second. It's Martin. Hello. Okay, thank you. Good to hear from you. And that's Martinsville calling. Telling me we need to stay on until 8:03, so we got a little more time. Call the Board of Elections. Tell them who you are. Tell them you need to know whether you are one of those voters affected by this thing. And that's the only sure way to find out. Some people know already. For example, the mother and father of Allison Riggs, the state Supreme Court justice, they already know. They registered, I think, 25 years ago and have been voting ever since. And now are told that their vote's not going to count this time unless they do thus and such. But many people do not know. So a call to your local Board of Elections is the way to deal with that. This emailer says, Ken, can you send me the race picks, what everybody has picked, in my email? Yeah, I can do that. We're still missing a couple of. Who are we missing here? Okay, we don't have Tar Heel in Mayodan yet, but that'll come in later tonight. It always does. We don't yet have Leon. Have not heard from Leon. Am I looking at the right page? Yeah, we haven't heard from Leon. Have not heard. Oh, we haven't heard from Pretty Man. What a tragedy that would be if we didn't get Pretty Man on the list. Leon, Pretty Man, and yeah, I think everybody else is in. But yeah, I will email those out when I have the whole list. Even if I don't have the whole list at the end of the show tonight, I will email those out to you. Hi, Ken. Isn't this crazy about these scientists who say they have brought the dire wolf back from extinction? Do you think they've really done that? I don't know. In case you're saying to yourself, what? Huh? The group of scientists, this big genetics company that has said that it has taken DNA recovered from fossil samples and mixed that with the DNA or attached it to DNA of modern wolves. And they say that they have reconstituted an extinct creature called the dire wolf. Who knows what the dire wolf was? It was a big, big wolf, a wolf that on average weighed 150, 175, sometimes up to 200 pounds. Good-sized wolf. And it's been extinct these last couple of centuries. But these folks at Colossal is the name of the company. These folks say that using recovered DNA, they have now bred and given birth to. Well, they haven't given birth to, but they have caused birth to be given to 3 dire wolf puppies. In fact, if you go online, you'll see the puppies running around, and they're white, and they're really nice-looking wolf puppies. But the company claims that they are, in fact, and indeed, dire wolves, the species that has been extinct. Other scientists say, well, no, they're not. All you've done is you've taken a gray wolf, modern gray wolf, and you've made a slight alteration to its DNA. But when it grows up, all it's going to be is a gray wolf with altered DNA that's going to look different from the normal gray wolf that does not have altered DNA. Now, this is a document. I'm not going to weigh into this argument. I'm going to stay out of this one because I don't know enough to get involved in this argument. But that is what they say that they have done. And the emailer says, do you think they've actually done it? I don't know. Something will happen. The folks who did it will continue to say we've done it, and the critics will continue to say no, you haven't done it. And at some point, probably somebody will imagine a way to turn all this into a lawsuit. I don't know exactly how they would do it at this point. Maybe somebody will go and buy what they think is a dire wolf puppy, and then they'll somehow decide it's not really a dire wolf, and then they'll sue. And then we will have not only me and many other people who don't know anything about it trying to say what the facts are. They will also have judges and lawyers who don't know anything about it trying to make some ruling on what the facts are. So that's about all I can offer on that. Let's watch those puppies. Let's watch those puppies grow up, see what they look like and how they get along. And then maybe we'll have a slightly better idea of whether or not they are dire wolves. Hi, Ken. Mr. Leaksville here. I have seen black walnuts, early bird. I have seen black walnuts at Johnny's Produce on Hamilton Street in Eden. I don't know if they have them now, but they definitely had them before. Okay, early bird. We had a black walnut sighting at Johnny's Produce. That's on Hamilton Street in Eden. So you might check that out. Hey, Ken, can you send me the pics for this week's race? I'm missing 6 for the race. Have a good weekend. Thanks, Ken. I will send you the pics. I will send them as soon as I have the rest of them. In fact, when I finish tonight, I'll just send you what I have. And then as I get additional ones, I will send them to you as the list becomes more complete. Uh-oh, here's one now. Hello, Eccles. Guess who this is? Hello, Eccles. I am Pretty Man. Yes, I know who you are. Hello, Eccles. I am Pretty Man. I know with my psychic able, who is to win the race today at Bristol. Well, the race is not today. Pretty Man, you need to maybe tune up your psychic antenna, because the race is not today. The race is on. Why don't I just read it? I know my psychic. I know who will win the race today at Bristol, and I am about to reveal to my public who the victorious driver will be at the race in Bristol. But I request of my public this. Pretty Man has a request for his public. I request of my public this. Do not pick the same driver that I pick, because my driver will win the race, and I want to get all of the points, and I do not want other people to get the same points for picking the driver. So to all Pretty Man fans, I will tell you who will win the race, but do not pick the person that I tell you. You know, I doubt that there's much risk of that. I don't know why anybody would just run and jump and grab a pencil and write down Pretty Man's pick so that they could copy it. Anyhow, what Pretty Man has done, and I of course need to check, because Pretty Man, as we all understand, Pretty Man often tries to cheat and pick the same driver 2 weeks in a row. So let me first look back and see who he had last time. All right. He's in the clear. Pretty Man is taking the number 9, Chase Elliott, to win the race at Bristol. And I have bad news for you, other people have already picked the number 9, so if he wins, you're not going to be the only one with the points. But be that as it may, Pretty Man has the 9 at Bristol, and I believe I also saw just now that Captain Midnight had checked in. All right, Captain Midnight has been heard from, and Captain Midnight takes the 17. Did he take the 17 last week? Hope he's not getting Pretty Man's disease. No, he's all right. Captain Midnight takes the 17 for Bristol. So now I'm missing Leon, and I'm missing the lady in black. So I have everybody else. All right, so I'll monitor that situation, and I will send those out to the emailer who requested them as soon as I've got everything in order on that. And how late am I? I'm supposed to stay on till 8:03. All right, so it's 8:01 now. If there's a short email over here, I might have time to read it. If it's not too strange. All right, well, it is strange, but I'm going to read it anyway. This is Ken, I emailed you at the start about extraterrestrial intelligence and things that people have said on the show. And I asked you a question and you never answered my question. Are you going to answer my question now? I don't know if I have time. Sorry, emailer. I kind of overlooked that. I'm probably not going to have time to answer it. The emailer's question was this. The emailer's question says, in light of all this talk about UFOs, hello, caller, you're on the air. You got about 20 seconds.
Well, I tell you what, it ain't enough time for me to tell you hello. How you doing?
Okay, well, that pretty much uses it up.
I just thought I'd call in and holler for your weekend and say, I hope you have a good weekend and all. And
well, thank you. I hope you do too. And I got a program. I got me a program from the Draper Speedway, 1952.
I saw that. You know, my buddy down there, he said that he's pretty sure that was who did he say raced down there? Earnhardt.
Yeah, Earnhardt raced.
He said well, the track closed in '62.
All right. I'm sorry. I got to cut you off. I'm out of time.
Okay.
Well, thanks for calling.
Right, bye.
Call earlier next time because it is now 8:03 and I got to quit. Emailer, I'll deal with the extraterrestrial thing next week. I promise. That's all the time we have tonight. We're on the air Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Hope you'll join us next time. Thanks for watching. I'm Ken Eccles.
Hello, Moto.
Yeah.